Yo ho ho, me hearties, adventure awaits as we begin to write together, tempting the fate of what's inside you that wants to come out. A magical prose, a story. Let's shout to the rafters and high above as we make magic together. Rub-a-dub-dub. Let's have some fun. Let's write. Let's play. There's something within you that wants to stay. It wants to come out and be shared with whoever. Let's have some fun. Let's do this together. So, it all started this morning when I realized the shorts I bought, insert picture. What's with these shorts? Look, I can't get my hands in any pockets. They're so small. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. We're really made for kids because the pockets were so small that I couldn't get my hand into any of them. Now, this feels like an Alice down the rabbit hole in the looking glass kind of moment. So in the spirit of child's play and adventure, I started to listen in to what my guides were trying to share with me. And I decided it was time for creativity. Now, the start to any magical session is to play. That is how you open up to the magic within. And it can't hurt to have a little enchanted drink. This doesn't look like much, but it's an amalgamation of magical goodness. Creativity cocoa. A spoon of the dragon's fire creativity. Taking just a little measured amount to start the muse, the call of the muse. Now this may be where you want to step out to your favorite area and mix yourself a libation or a creation or a magical incantation like I'm gonna do. This is already enchanted, but let's start some creativity cocoa as we begin our magical adventure workshop that just came to me as I was playing with my dog this morning. And I said, what could I do today to inspire and to have fun at the same time? And thus, Yo Ho Ho was born. And we are going to go on an adventure writing workshop together over the course of however long this takes. 1, 2, 3. Bring the magic out to me. Adding your favorite little hoodoos and boo-boos as I make mine, as I step around the kitchen and put my favorite ingredients in. You can make your little cup of whatever with yourself. Or maybe it's a favorite snack that gets you in the mood for more, for fun, for adventure. Because this is a sacred container, a safe space for you to write and play. Because many of you have said to me, how do you do what you do? And can I do it too? Talking about, of course, the magical writing, the what I call channeling of all of my books. Pretty much all the work I do here on the channel is done via channeling. But that can be a scary, nondescript topic for some. I'm shaking the good old silk milk. Remember, this is your creation. You make it however you want. And these little rituals put you in a space of magic, pulling you out of the other worlds, Pulling it into a space that you have to be in order to make this happen. You can't just walk in from a busy day out in the moors, a busy day out in the moors, and sit down and expect to just start writing. And so we're going to explore as we take our cocoa upstairs to our little writing nook. Our little, all space is sacred here at Mystic Gables, but we're going to get ourselves sitting down together, and we're going to get ourselves into that headspace that you need to be in order to make this happen. Now, for some of you as well, there could be some healing work that needs to take place. And no, I'm not. It looks like I'm advertising these things. Mia? Marshies? That's the dog. That's part we always have fun together with the dog. She loves marshmallows, and I know they're sugary sweets, but every now and then she shows up. I give her a few. ASMR on the crackle of the happy jet puff. Now keep in mind it is, well, you don't know this, but it is right before the summer solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere in June. It's a very cloudy, rainy day today. And let's play with this. I'm gonna take this opportunity, this inside time, because my dog does not like the rain on her back, and thus does not like to walk outside in the rain. And so she didn't get her morning walk this morning. And so I have extra time right now to do this play work. So I'm gonna put these things away. I'm gonna melt the marshmallows a little bit. I'm gonna put on, well, I've been doing this a long time. My process might be different from yours, but you're gonna put on something fun. I think this session calls for, we're calling it Yo-Ho-Ho, because I think within everyone listening here, there's a little bit of adventure writing. It's summer in the Northern Hemisphere. It's gonna be midsummer. The finishing touch for mine. Little cayenne pepper on top. Get the creative fire going. Just a few little dabs. Just enough to make you drink and maybe sneeze a little. Like, when is it? Snuff from the olden days. Clear your head out. And then I'm going to set up my magic hands, my magic Reiki incantation hands. Now this concoction has already been enchanted at the mother bowl that I showed you, so I really don't have to do anything. I could come in and just say, activate, activate, activate. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Bring in some light language. Gotta know, get out your favorite toy. My little rainbow fidget spinner with the little pop colored pops. All right, kids, get your drink. Meet me in a space that feels safe and creative to you, somewhere magical, surrounded by your favorite things. And we're going to take the next step on this writing adventure journey. Magical cocoa. Okay, we're back with the cocoa here. The room I've picked is, I think, one of my favorite creative rooms because of the view out to the medicine wheel, because of the vibe of the space. I think it used to be, I've said this many times before, depending on how often you hear me, a baby's room or like a nursery, because it's like the smallest little bedroom. It's very quiet, very peaceful. Anytime you sleep in here, or anybody that's come and slept in here has been like, oh my gosh, I had the best night's sleep ever. It's so peaceful, it's so quiet. It's so like, there's not a lot of distortion. Well, there's no distortion in Mystic Gables. I keep it very clear. Oh, get that crown chakra going. Get that fairy hair going. I keep it very, very clear and enchanted here at the whole Mystic Gables, which is my place. But you need a space where you feel like safe and protected. And it doesn't have to be a space where you're like all alone. The very first time, let me think about this for a minute. The very first time I started automatic writing, which is how, I'm taking my socks off. Let's get comfortable, friends. The very first time I started automatic writing, I was not automatic writing. I didn't know I was automatic writing. I think it first started, is it in this book? All my art supplies are in here. So this is one of our tarot tables. It's just a little makeshift table. I don't know if I still have it. I might not. But regardless, whether I have it for you or not, I wasn't trying to do anything. So the first time was more of a drawing. I just got my pencils and I just you just kind of have to be in that, is it delta brainwaves? Somewhere between fully waking, clear, and a meditative state, somewhere in the middle of it all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get ourselves into that state of beingness. And I've done this before with people. There may even be somewhere around on the channel. I don't remember where it is. I might have to go find it, where we did one of these sessions a long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. So if you're a writer, wannabe writer, it doesn't matter what you want to write, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, instruction manuals, I don't know. You set the intention of what you want to write. And part of it for now is the intention. But when I first started writing, I was sitting in in my bedroom with my son. He was, I don't even know, 2012. He was like 5 years old. And he was just sitting next to me on the bed. So we got this childlike energy around me. And we usually are really good, energy bumps to each other, so to speak. So that's what I'm hoping I can be for you. But there's people that are really good, ping pongs of energy. And when he's around, it's easy for me to slip into a certain state. And I remember having I don't know what I was attempting to do at the time, but I had something to write with and paper and a notebook or whatever. And I just was in a certain state. We may have had music playing, and music is always helpful because it helps. For me, it helps. It does something with your brain waves. But I just started writing something, and what I was writing was something. But I wasn't, it wasn't let me journal my day. It was just put the pen down and I could just hear words coming through, and I just started writing them down. And I remember looking at it, and it was like the very first guide that ever came to me, because it said Kuan Yin, and I'm like, who the heck is Kuan Yin? And I had to go on an adventure of looking up who she was and everything. But that kind of opened the door to the whole what is now, TLC for the Soul, and all the millions of books millions of books we've published. Yeah. So what we're going to do here in this little series, and I think I'll periodically do these, is we're going to create together, because this container is a safe space where we can bring the guides in as they're kind of already here looking over us. Because many of you, I think, you're trying to force the writing to happen. And I've met many not would be, and it's not even wannabe. It's like you are writers. It's number one, you don't know where to start. Number two, you're like trying to force the words to come out onto the pages or the paper or the computer or whatever. And number three, you're trying to make the story happen. And for the magic to really happen, you're really not the one in control of the keyboard or the pen or the paper. What it takes is warm in this room. Whew, if we go get a fan. What it takes is, like, even now, you could just be closing your eyes and listening to me, and the intention is set for you to get into this like delta. It's like a dreamy state where you're still grounded in reality, but your mind just tends to lift and wander a little bit. The very first book I wrote, I had no intention to write a book. I just was sitting down again one day, and I think the intention was to journal something, and all of a sudden a story came out onto the pages, and I was like, what the heck is this? And that book was one that's probably the one I least talk about at all. It was called, was it Shaman's Drum? Oh my God. I don't even know what it's called now. It's a little book about a shaman's awakening. And it was part of what I was calling the Shaman's Awakening series. But you can't even get there yet to the, I'm going to write a whole series of books. I'm going to write a book. You have to just first have two things going on. The intention to write something, and maybe it's just something fun. Maybe it's just something just for you right now, because I think that we get this mindset of like, okay, I want to be a writer or an author or whatever, and I have to write a best-selling book or something, and there's like all this pressure. Or even, I have to write something that many people are going to consume. I think you put all this pressure on yourself that's totally unnecessary, because if that's what you're meant to do is write anything for anyone, then the intention needs to be set. And then most of the process kind of happens outside of your hands, so to speak, in terms of the direction you're going to get from your guides, the direction and guidance from your own inner writer or author. And maybe that's, somebody from past life. Maybe in a past life you were, I've met many of you who want to write and who were like scribes for Thoth in Egypt, and who have a lot of like writing experience. Maybe you were like a, not necessarily the person themselves, because I think we're always like, oh, I was Shakespeare or something. It's like, well, somebody was, but I don't think it's always us, right? A lot of us, I think, were like assistants to people that were like these mega people, right? Not that you couldn't be a mega person, but you may have been like some sort of scribe to some other really famous, they keep giving me like Greek and Roman and Egypt and all that. Any time when putting things down on paper was really important. Or papyrus, apparently. Egypt keeps coming up. So the writer in you is in there, somewhere in your cells, somewhere in your DNA. But we have to take all of that away. Like, what happens when I start writing? Oh my gosh, I'm going to write a book. Then what am I going to do with it? Because honestly, I think I've been through almost the whole process of like, what am I going to do with my books? Down, from going with a publisher, which was just, for me was not a good experience. And I just said, forget this. I'm not doing things anybody's way but my own way. And so I decided to self-publish all of my books. And that's not to say in the future, I won't do something different, but for right now, that's what I was guided to do. But I didn't even know I had a book yet when I started with whatever this book is called. I just started writing. I'm like, this is a really fun story. And if you've been on the channel for a while, you know we take the channeled stories and they're more than just books. We use them as workbooks. We use them as healing tools. They're filled with metaphors. And they were eventually, when I figured out what these were, they were written with the intention of being healing tools, filled with energy and intention and magic, so that when you read them, they weren't just stories, which they could be, but you could read deeper into them and receive so much more from the adventure or the journey. But when I first started writing, it was just this adventure of writing, like, what are these words coming out? And just trusting that what I was hearing in my mind and typing and writing on pages was something magical that was coming from within me. And who knows where it's coming from? You know, I always say I have a creative team of spirit guides that have been with me for quite some time now, that sit and hold space for me while I do this writing, so that I trust what's coming through. And then I've got many book series now, so I have a relationship with those spirit friends who come through in these books. But at first it wasn't. At first it was just, who's this spirit friend that's coming through, and this spirit friend that's coming through, and what's this story, and where is it going, and what is it all about? And it was just so fun to sit down every day and kind of see where it was going. And then it became more of a like, oh, this feels like this could be some sort of a book. You know, do I want to finish this? And what does that mean? You know, and I never know, you know, is it going to be 50 pages? Is it going to be 200 pages? Is it going to be 10 chapters or 50 chapters? You know, I just set the intention to sit down and write something. And I honestly have not done an everyday thing lately. I have not said, you know, I'm writing every day. I have not really pushed myself to like pump out books. Although I could at one point. I do remember one point where I was like, I could do this every single day, and that's all I could do. And I could pretty much pump out a book every 45 days or so is what I had planned out on like a business plan I had made. And Spirit was like, is that really fun though? Just pumping out books all the time? And so it turned into this whole thing that is now the Bringers of the Light. So I think that's where we get a little stuck, is I want to write, and we go from I want to write to, you know, I've sold millions of copies of books, and then comes the pressure of either the niggling fears that live in the chakras, maybe from past lives, maybe from this life, start to take hold. The, you know, fears of success, fear of failure, fear of, you know, whatever the case may be, fear of putting yourself out there, fear of looking like an idiot, fear of talking about your process and going, what do you mean he or she channels books? What in the heck? You know, or having to like dumb yourself down for people. Because any of you pretty much watching this are magical folk if you're following me, and you're not here to dim your light anymore. You're here to shine your light. And that means you stand in your truth and you stand in your own integrity. And if you channel a freaking book, then you channel a freaking book. And that's pretty much how you have to, you have to explain that that's what you do. And for those people that are like, oh my gosh, you know, spawn of the devil or whatever, those people are not meant for your tribe anyway, right? So that doesn't matter. Like, those can filter out. And so I get so excited now, like when books come through, and I'm like, playing with the dog this morning, I was like, I kept hearing yo ho ho, and always in June pirates come through. Of course, why not, right? It's June, it's summertime up here, and you know, who wants to sit at home, and who doesn't want to go on a pirate adventure somewhere? I'll go. You know, the pirates pulled up at my door. So many of my books have pirates in them that start around this time. But I think what I want to do here in the next segment of this, since we're just getting started together, and this is a whole introduction, and maybe it is a 2-part series. Maybe I come back tomorrow. So yeah, they're saying, let's make this 2 parts. So this is like the introduction. This is like getting in the headspace of what you're going to do. This is like the motivated part of it all. And then part 2 is going to be, okay, let's sit down and let's do something together. I already kind of know what I want to do. So at some point you get to the point where you're like, I feel a song coming on. And I will always feel when like new book friends want to come in and start something. And we have a lot of series we're already working off of now, like Bringers of the Light series. We have many spirit friends who have been with me for a while, and we continue to write, ongoing books with them in them. I have many, many, many books I've started and never finished. And I guess it's like cleaning out the closet. Sometimes it's like I go back to those and I'm like, do I want to just delete that and just start fresh? Do I want to continue that story? I was really motivated about it when I channeled in 15 chapters 3 years ago, but now what? Do I want to see where this story goes? And do I want to imagine what I could do with this workbook moving forward? What kind of healing work I could do with it? So we want to set the stage really small, though, in the fact that this may not even be for you a book. It could just be a one-page piece of paper with something on it. And maybe it is. Ultimately, all of you here are service-oriented, divinely in service, doing your soul mission, your soul purpose, working with your guides to give from the heart to others. And ultimately, typically, what you create is then shared outwardly, because it's just no fun if it's not. It's like, if I just have this whole stack of books and I don't do anything with them, it's just no fun. It's like, I do write for myself and the adventures that we have through the experientials and all the stuff we do with them. But ultimately, I have the most fun when I'm writing them, because they're always a surprise to me, because I never know what's going to happen. And my guides like to be cheeky and surprise me with the stories that come out. But then it's just as much fun and enjoyable to then share them all with you all in the different ways. So I think it's the first thing is like let's just get you through that, into that mindset of what it feels like to get these things out there onto paper. And I'm not going to say one thing. We'll talk about tools and stuff tomorrow. But, and then you can decide when you've got some stuff in front of you, when you feel like, do you like doing this? That's another thing. Do you like this process? Do you like doing this? Once you've got some stuff out there, then at some point you can sit with all of it and say, guys, how can I be of service with this? How can I share this? What do you want me to do with this stuff? Is it a book? If not, if so, we can help you here with how to self-publish your own stuff. It's very easy. There is a little bit of a tedious part to it. Some of the stuff like editing and manuscript stuff I'm not as fond of, but it's not, rocket science. I think anybody with some wherewithal, I think it takes practice and it takes commitment. So once we clear those blocks to that, then I think you're well on your way to having this writing that's been welling up in you for so long, to where maybe you're like, so many people are like, I've got this book half started and it's just stuck there, and it's like, well, it's because you're trying to make this story kind of, it's the process is what's stopping you. And for others, there's other things stopping you. So I can see this being like a little series, like a 2-part, maybe even a 3-part series, where we do some healing work about clearing out these blocks that are keeping you from even doing anything, even getting the paper out and the pen, because you just get stuck. There's somewhere you get stuck that's kind of outside of your control. And then for others, you don't really necessarily have any blocks to that, but it's your process that needs some work. So let's leave it at this for now. Let's get excited about this. If it was me and I saw this, I'm like, yes, I'd get super motivated. I'd create, some sort of like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like altar to your dreams or whatever. Get yourself some supplies. I did start writing by hand. When I started channeling, I was buying notebooks and I was writing my stories by hand, writing my books by hand. And that soon became very challenging and tedious, because once you write them by hand, if you do then want to do something with them, you have to recopy everything into a digital copy because nobody wants your handwritten notes. If you're going to work with a publisher, if you're going to self-publish, nobody's going to take your handwritten manuscript. So let's think about that in terms of tools. Eventually, I quickly decided like that doesn't work, and I started channeling through just everything, digital. But let's talk about tools and process a little bit more tomorrow. And then I think maybe the next part 3 might be some healing work and then the getting started, because we are going to sit and start writing this together and see where this goes. So for now, start, really getting excited about, wow, this could be a new opportunity, some new beginning, something I've really been wanting to do, but I just didn't know how, when, what to get started, what to do. And we will chat more about this in the next part of this workshop series. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here, and we will see you again soon. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by Relics Bookshop. Be you wizard, muggle, or witch, Relics Bookstore has everything you need for your magical reading adventures. Thank you for joining us. Take care.